Hi there everybody, my name is Aubrey and today we're going to talk a little bit about my first ever CT scan. So I've never done this before. The point of the CT scan was to get a better look at the vasculature of my neck pre-thyroidectomy, as well as potentially taking a peek to see if there was any metastasis that was available for viewing. But it seems like they're going to learn more about the possibility of metastasis after the surgery, according to my doctors, when they remove some lymph nodes for pathology to take a peek at. So fundamentally, I got up this morning and I had myself a coffee like I do every day. I had been reading a lot of different things online about whether or not you should or shouldn't eat before a CT scan. I think it all depends on where your CT scan is taking place and all that. But I actually ended up choosing not to eat anything, just having some clear liquids like coffee and water beforehand. And I also ended up having IV contrast, which I've never done either, but I showed up and they checked me in. I did all of my online check-in, as that's an option for me, and they gave me an IV port right here. And as you can see, we got some wrapping marks still. And the nurse did a great job. He was really, really nice. He was kind of describing it to me. He described it as a possibility of lightheadedness, some dizziness, a little bit of possibility of headache afterwards, feeling like you have to pee your pants, but you're not, and some warmth, metallic taste in the mouth. So I was obviously a little bit nervous, but I sat back in the waiting room as they let the saline kind of go into my body, and then they called me back. So I ended up going into this room with this big machine. I did not have to change my clothes. I just wore this, something comfortable. I did take out all of my piercings, nose, everything, and my necklace. So I was totally clean, and they laid me down and they then pulled me in saying that I wasn't allowed to swallow because they would be looking here. And it was very efficient. They took me in, they had me go through a couple times, probably for just understanding positioning on the images. And then they pulled me back out and they injected me with the contrast solution, which exactly went how the nurse described. I immediately felt really, really flushed, very hot in my chest. My heart rate kind of increased slightly, I think probably because I was mostly nervous. Did taste something very unusual, kind of metallic-y, very chemically almost, and I absolutely thought I was peeing my pants. It was awful. That was the weirdest part. I really did think I was peeing my pants. It felt just like that. I was assured by this kind nurse I was not in fact urinating. So that was the weirdest part. I did feel a little bit lightheaded. I had some dizziness when I sat back up. But fundamentally, it was really efficient. They got me in, they got me out. They were like, great, you have to sit here for a little bit, make sure you're not gonna have a reaction. But I didn't. I felt okay. I have a little bit of a headache right now, but it could be just from sheer worry, like stress. I definitely get nervous about things all the time. But I remember bringing it up to him regarding other possible symptoms of CT scans / the IV contrast that goes with them. I had read that you get some nausea, possible vomiting, and I have a terrible, terrible, terrible case of emetophobia, the fear of vomiting. So I did express my worries to him, and he was very nice. He said that the old contrast fluid that was used previously could cause some nausea, but the new one very rarely does. So if you feel nauseous pretty much immediately after they inject you, then you're going to experience that nausea. But if you get injected and you start having the warmth and the feeling of peeing yourself, and you don't feel the nausea, then you're very likely to make it through without having any problem like that, if that's another worry for other people who have a little bit of a fear of that. Also, another thing that was up for debate when I was reading about this to prepare is like whether or not to wear makeup. Does it cause any kind of issue with the image? Just to be safe, I chose not to wear makeup. Not that I regularly wear makeup as it is, it's just not really my thing, but the idea of having anything that could possibly infringe on the image taking, I just thought might as well play it safe. So overarchingly, I didn't have anything to eat beforehand. I did have just clear liquids beforehand as a way to try and potentially mitigate issues with nausea. fundamentally I feel fine, and I'll be waiting on my CT results now, which is mostly, like I said, to take a peek on the inside before the surgeon goes in, just to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be, or to plan out where they're going to go. Yeah, all in all, that is my update today regarding the thyroidectomy I'm having for papillary thyroid carcinoma. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out. I look forward to giving you guys my next update, and hopefully, again, it's all relatively normal or good news. And like I always say, keep on singing.